Hey everybody, we got some news here regarding the Blue Jays, and as Keegan Matheson points out here in his tweet, the Blue Jays announced that they've called up Spencer Turnbull. Paxton Schultz has been optioned. Turnbull has been working to get his velocity back up and has posted a 7.13 ERA over 5 starts in the minors. It's a little bit concerning when you see his velocity. I think he topped out at 92, I saw, but he was averaging more like 89.5. So that really isn't great, and he's definitely missing a couple miles per hour. For those of you that are not familiar, we had 35 days to call him up, or else we had to basically let him elect free agency again. So there was a bit of a time crunch on getting Turnbull up to the Major League roster, and apparently the Blue Jays have figured it was more worth the risk of putting him out there in a Blue Jays uniform than risking losing him, just given their starting pitching depth and all that. And you know what? Every team more or less is dealing with starting pitching depth, just to varying extents. Even the Dodgers that had 20 starters going into this year, they're still rumored to be trading for more starting pitching, and they're still trying to pick up DFAs, and they picked up Urania from us and things like that. So starting pitching and just pitching depth in general is always hard to come by, and this year is no different. So I understand their belief there that Turnbull was more valuable on the Major League roster than risking losing him. Now, the part that has fans kind of outraged is the Paxton Schultz is the one being optioned as opposed to Bowden Francis. And I don't really have a problem with this. Now, obviously, Paxton Schultz is a better pitcher right now than Bowden Francis, but just given team needs, you're now going to have Eric Lauer penciled into the number 4 spot, and then in the number 5 spot, you're either going Bowden Francis or Spencer Turnbull. But neither of those three have proven that they're fully stretched out in terms of, giving you 90 pitches, say, to give you 6+ innings in a start. So it does make sense to keep the guy in Bowden Francis that at least offers that bulk role more so than Paxton Schultz. Paxton Schultz can maybe give you 2 innings or so, but Bowden is stretched out. He can give you 90 pitches if you need him to. And even just for the sake of the mop-up roles and things like that, I don't know whether they're going to give him his next start, but there is value in just keeping those innings available and that pitch count available just in case you have any blowout games, especially when you're going with a bit of unknown with Lauer, with Turnbull, like I say, if Bowden Francis gets a start. So it does make sense to have 3 of these guys who are more stretched out to cover those 2 spots, just to avoid any blow-ups where you would have to then torpedo your entire bullpen. This kind of saves you from that. And Paxton Schultz did nothing wrong. He's been very good. He will be back up. Optioning a guy is not cutting him. It's not trading him away. He'll likely be back up within a week or two, like basically the next injury, if not maybe a little bit longer, just given that we could be getting Sandlin back and all of these things. Like, he could get pushed down the pecking order a tiny bit. But even still, if Lauer and Turnbull go out there and show that they're ready, Francis continues to struggle, he will be the next one down for sure. I think this is just buying them at least another trip through the rotation of just having that pitch count and having those innings available for coverage should they need it. If you're not familiar with Turnbull, I am going to switch over to him for a second and just give a quick look. Now, these are not in-depth stats by any means. It's just kind of a refresher on who he's been in his career. He came up with Detroit a long time ago. He was phenomenal when he first came up. He showed a lot of promise, and he's still only 32 years old, so he's not, a fossil by any means. But 2 out of the last 3 years that he's pitched, 2021, he had a sub-1 whip, which is very good. He had 9 starts that year. And in 2024, he was also very good. Now, sandwiched between that was 2023. He was coming back from injury. He only had 7 starts, and they were not very good. So hopefully that's not the version we're getting this time. But last year, he was very, very good out of the bullpen, out of the starting rotation, and hopefully we can get something like that again this year. I don't know if he'll start all of his games, and I don't know if he'll be a pure reliever. We might see a similar breakdown where he comes in as a bulk guy a little bit, he gets a few starts, and hopefully we can get him ramped up to, he's never been a big velo guy, so even though I say he's at 89.5, his average velo on his fastball, even when he's been good, is around, 92.5 to maybe touching 93 miles an hour. So it's not like he's, a Paul Skeens arm or anything like that needs to be 100 miles an hour to be effective. Not saying Paul Skeens has to be 100 to be effective. He's filthy. But, we're not 10 miles below where he normally is. We're more like 2 miles to maybe like 1.5 miles below where he's been really effective before. And even though he does only throw 92 to 93, he gets a lot of ground balls, and he does get quite a few strikeouts as well, especially for being a ground ball pitcher. So that could play quite nicely with our infield defense and just with our stadium as a whole, we have so many pitchers that have been giving up the long ball. Turnbull shouldn't be one of those, especially once he gets ramped up and gets stretched out a bit and gets more comfortable. Now, the first start or two, the first couple of appearances could be, messy. They could be ugly, but hopefully, and this is a big hope, and we kind of need it at this point, hopefully once he gets settled in, gets through his routine a little bit, gets settled in, he'll be effective for us, get back to the ground balls, get back to the strikeouts, and at least provide a Band-Aid until we're sure of what Max Scherzer is at this point. Get him back, see what Lauer's got, and just buy us some time. And that's really all this is just buy a couple trips through the rotation, get stretched out, eat some innings, and then between injuries and everything else that happens through the course of the year, the 5 starting pitchers will emerge and they'll sort themselves out based on performance, based on health, and all that kind of stuff. But at least we're adding to the options of guys that could potentially be taking those spots. And that's really what we need right now, especially through till the trade deadline. Anyways, let me know what you guys think on this move. Were you outraged that it was Paxton Schultz who got sent down? Do you understand the move? Do you understand keeping the bulk guys around just in case? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, all right? We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.